Sometimes when you do a maiden on an RC airplane, things just doesn't work out as you would have hoped for or would have expected. And in this case, with this FMS CJ6, I did set up the elevator the wrong way, so I didn't have enough elevator authority to avoid a really high bush. So I just flew this CJ6 on the maiden flight straight into the bush, and it's always a sad thing when you kind of crash or fly into something on the maiden flight. And I was in the air for like, I don't know, maybe 20-30 seconds, because I realized really early that I didn't have enough elevator authority. So I just was about to make a turn and land, and then this large bush was in the way. So thankfully the damage was really light, so I have a few scuff marks on the wing and nothing else did break, so that was a really good thing. And the thing is, this 1.2 meter FMS CJ6 is a discontinued RC airplane, and it's replaced by a version 2, which is blue and white, I believe. And I also believe that the version 2 comes with a reflex gyro, and this doesn't come with any gyro or receiver, but it is a plug-and-play version, so everything except the receiver is included, and it's really easy to assemble this one. You have like a few screws for the main wing, a few screws for the rear stabilizer, and you put on the prop and the spinner, and everything is great. So let's go and watch a flight where I don't crash this one, and let's talk more about what this FMS CJ6 is all about later. Time to just check these surfaces and get this CJ6 going and up in the air. Gears are up. I do have a little bit of a tricky wind today. It's gusty, it comes and goes. So I just have to remember to keep up speed. This plane runs on a 3S battery, and I have a 3S 2.2 amp battery inside, or as some like to say, 2,200 milliamp hour battery. So this CJ6 is not my first flight. I've had a few flights prior to this one, but I think it's really able. It's not a speedy RC airplane, but I don't feel any lack of power either. I think it just flies nice as is. And maybe the EC can take a 4S battery, I don't know, because many of the FMS RC airplanes, the EC can actually take it, and the brushless motor inside looks to be beefy enough to accept 4S, but I won't risk it for now at least, so it's only 3S. And thankfully there's no odd noise from the prop, even in turns, and when I push this plane. It's just evenly sounding, rather low pitched, really nice prop sound. And even with green on the wings, green design, orientation is no problem as long as you have some sort of backdrop with contrast. I can imagine if you have a totally gray sky that this plane will become more difficult to see, but against some white clouds or like today with just a blue sky, visibility is great. So I'm pushing more or less 100% throttle.
Time remaining 2 minutes.
As you can see, just go around and easy doing anything. It works fine. And I have 2 minutes left on my timer, so I will drop throttle and just circle around the feet, have a closer look at this one and explore some slower flying. Oops.
Landing flaps.
I'm deploying the single split flap.
Time remaining 1 minute.
And the wind does kick the CJ6 a bit, so I'm keeping speed up just to avoid any tip stall. Just as on the ground, I think this plane looks great when it flies.
30 seconds.
30 seconds on my timer, so it's time to return and just deploy the retracts. And they are deployed. It's always good to have to check first if you really have the landing gears deployed. Line up for the landing, let it drop, flare at the end. Oops. Oh, that's one thing that can happen on grass. So I think this CJ6 looks really amazing. It's a super fantastic scale flying RC airplane, and the prop and the spinner is, it's exciting to look at. So after a few tries, I got this one to fly really good. And speaking about the design of this one, when I first assembled this RC airplane, I just looked at it and I thought it was an amazing looking, fantastic looking RC airplane with the green and these stickers, and this is my first Chinese RC model as well. If you look at the design, because all of the RC airplanes are made in China, but the design of this one, so it's a good step away from the usual American warbirds. And I also dig this white spinner and prop, because it's I think it's the first RC plane I have which has a white prop, and I really dig 3-bladed prop RC airplane. I think it's super fantastic. So as you saw in the flight, this one handles great in the air. It's not the most powerful RC airplane, and it's not the most snappiest. And I actually had to put the control connector for the elevator servo in the inner hole, so I have a lot of authority on the elevator, because I didn't want to risk to run into something else due to the lack of authority on the elevator. So I mean, it's no problem doing loops and bang and yank turns. This one also features these retracts, so they have been working nice. I had a few problems, so on a few some of the first landings, I had a bit of a rough landing, and this nose pin for the wheel did actually get bent a little bit backward, but it was quite easy just to bend back. So nothing to worry about. And then on one of these wheel pans underneath, when you retract these, they close, and this part did actually get stuck when I tried to deploy them during flight. So I had to cycle them, I don't know, 3 or 4 times, and then finally I got them to work nice. But that was the problems with the landing gears, and I'm also always a little bit worried about landing gears because they are a thing that breaks on many RC airplanes if you have bad landings, and retracts are a little bit more sensitive. They have this mechanism, so you have to be a little bit more careful about them. But so far, and I think I've made like 10 flights, almost 9-10 flights on my first day flying this one. So, but it was good, and they work, and as long as you can bend them in the right direction, it's really good. So this one just features this hatch with the magnet, and I also have this standard kind of FMS pilot guy inside. And there's ample room inside. So I have a Spectrum AR630 receiver mounted. And speaking about the battery position, which is on this tray with the Velcro and Velcro straps, I balanced on the CG markers, which are according to the manual. But then I discovered that after a few flights that this one was flying tail heavy, so I had to move the battery a little bit forward, and I ended up having the 3S 2.2 amp battery just center on the battery tray, and then it was all balanced without any nose weight or anything else added. So that's also always a nice feature that a thing or an RC airplane is balanced out of the box, so you don't have to add anything or have to move the battery or components in an odd position. So it was really good to see that the CG on this one is spot on if you put it on the battery plate. And I suppose you can also fit a 3200 because there is ample room inside. And I think at least 5 minutes flight time on a 2.2 amp battery. And I suppose you can extend it to maybe 7 minutes if you have a 3.2 amp battery inside. So I have to say that the design of this one is just fantastic. I really dig it. It's something a little bit different than the usual American warbirds. I think the prop and spinner is nice. I think the prop noise or lack of noise or sound is also really good sounding, because I hate whining or odd noise, and this was just perfect. And even after the encounter with the large bush on the Maiden, the plane didn't get out of balance or anything. So it's really easy to assemble this one, and if you want to put it back in the box for storage, the box is really nice, and it's easy to do with all the like 6 screws or something, and just remove the prop and spinner. So I really dig this CJ6 1.2 meter wingspan RC airplane. It's not my favorite warbird, it's not, but I think when it comes to design, it's one of the better ones, because it is more oddly looking. It's like my E-flite air tractor. It's a really odd and something else than most other RC airplanes, because most of them are like Cessna, Cubs, traditional low-wing warbirds like the P-51, Corsair, T-28, and this one is definitely different, and I dig it. And if you can get hold of the version 2 with the reflex gyro, I think it's just an excellent purchase. It's not a really heavy RC airplane, and it just flies nice. I think this one does feature this split flap, which is driven by one servo mounted inside the wing, and the flap don't slow down the plane as well as, for instance, the E-flite P-51 or Corsair. So it is a little bit of it's not the best flap, I would say, and this was also the first plane I fly with a split flap. So maybe there is more drag and more slowing down on a traditional flap. I'm not sure, but I didn't experience any ballooning, so that's always a good thing. And I had a really windy day with gusts, and it was a little bit the wind was across the field. So slowing down an RC airplane and have it flying nice and steady is much easier when you have dead calm or near dead calm conditions. But when you have gusts, you have to keep speed up to avoid any crazy tip stalls. So I dig this. It's a well-designed RC airplane. I really like the design. So that's my thoughts about this FMS CJ6.